We are back. Welcome back to Inland Northwest Native News. I'm your host, Jeff Ferguson, and it has been a while. We're recording this in the midst of a COVID shutdown. We're actually in phase 2 in Spokane, and we have been having the numbers grow again. Earlier this week, we had hit 100,000 deaths in the United States due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and that has really kind of put, it's changed a lot of things. It's changed a lot of things that have been happening, things that are supposed to happen. You know, I had a whole list of events that I wanted to shoot this year, some good things that I wanted to get going. You know, we had a pretty good season last year, got out and shot and did a lot of great interviews, had some good response from the people we were shooting with, and we're hoping to get out there and do it again this year. But since kind of the early on this year, we really had been hindered. And I was trying to get my studio built out. As you can see behind me, we got the blank wall set up. We got a audio studio going in behind it. I got some other things coming in. We got custom lighting coming in. Got a handful of other things that we're going to get going here. And so I've just been kind of dragging it out, hoping the COVID, they'd lift the restrictions that have been put in place with us. And I just really couldn't do it any longer. I'm recording this now because we had a massive response to the George Floyd in Minneapolis. I'm sure you've heard about it now. And here in Spokane, we had a demonstration today that had actually protest that had changed quite a bit. It started about 2 o'clock downtown, and I got down there and I was able to get some footage from what was going on down there. But I didn't get down there until about 4:30. By that time, they had gone through some of the protesting at the Spokane County Courthouse. They made their way down to the Red Wagon downtown and were going up and down the streets all throughout downtown Spokane. The footage that I shot is in response to a nationwide call for action for authorities to step up to try to do something about all the injustices that have been put forth on people of color. Specifically, in this instance, was an African American gentleman who died at the hands of the Minneapolis Police Department. So here in Spokane, there were a couple thousand people that showed up. Nationwide, we have protests in over 40 cities. Cities like Reno had protests. A city like Santa Monica, cities that we never hear protests were protesting. Here in the state of Washington, I-5 was shut down in Seattle yesterday, and again through today, going both ways up and down I-5. As I speak right now, it's right a little after 11 p.m. and the protest that we had today was set at 2 p.m. I had left there shortly before 6 p.m. Shortly after I had left, they fired tear gas in response to the Nike store downtown being looted. Right now, as I'm shooting this, I could hear the police helicopters outside going around the city, checking out different things. I know they had the police helicopter downtown too. The Spokane County Sheriff Ozzie Knezevich had reached out and asked for some assistance from the Army National Guard to come in. They were firing rubber bullets and tear gas into the crowds. That started shortly after I left. Some of the things that you're going to be seeing from the image that I shot today were after a couple hours of the protest going. Things weren't going so bad, but there were some things that you could see that just weren't right. Things that were, dangerous for one, and for two, maybe not quite as peaceful as we'd like to have them happen. So I'm going to have some commentary as I go through the footage. I've got about 10 minutes worth of footage. It's pretty good stuff. We see a variety of different people out there on the streets of downtown Spokane. In the beginning, we see City Hall. Next to that, we see signs hung on the Bloomsday Runners across from Riverfront Park. Then we see the actual protest group stopped outside the convention center by the Grand Hotel.
But we don't. Hands up! Don't shoot! Hands up! Don't shoot!
Next, we see a real diverse group, mostly people under 30 years of age. Some of them, well, a lot of them actually are under 25, and we had Native Americans mixed throughout.
Taking across the bridge, they try to stop us.
We catch up with a couple of local Native women with signs that were written to raise awareness to specific issues concerning police and the local Native communities here in town. We had quite a few shootings. I know that Native Americans in Spokane County are incarcerated at a much higher rate than any other ethnicity. In some cases, as much as 7 times as much. So it's definitely a problem.
How's it going, you girl days?
It's going okay. I'm just concerned because it's still going on, and I don't think there's a permit ready to go.
Let me see your signs. I know that this whole George Floyd thing isn't specifically a Native issue, but it's an issue for people of color, because people of color nationwide are being stopped, they're being harassed, they're being shot, they're being brutalized at a higher rate than other people. And so it's something that affects a lot of people of color, whether you're brown, whether you're black, or whether you have a good friendship or a good relationship, or maybe one of your loved ones is a person of color. I know it affects you directly. These are all things that create trauma, intergenerational trauma. They are oppressive to people of color. And so that's why I really couldn't wait any longer. There are so many injustices going on at this time. On a national level, we've got protests. Chicago's been hit really hard. They had the bridges lifted in the city of Chicago to get to limit the amount of people going downtown. There have been protests in New York and LA and Minneapolis and Chicago and Seattle, and like I said, Spokane and Reno and Santa Monica and all over the country. Here we see a group of protesters that were chasing the car that had just given them a handful of racial slurs and white power hand gestures. And that was something that infuriated these guys, so they took off after them. I know it kind of looks like they were coming at me, but unfortunately I missed. I was trying to catch up with the crowd as they rounded that corner. They kind of kept turning this way and turning that way. I was trying to keep ahead of them, and they turned where I decided to go straight. And so unfortunately I wasn't able to get shots of what that car was doing. Let's just say it was degrading and infuriating to those that were within earshot. Later, I did see a truck cruising around with the Trump 2020 flags flying high in the back, going around taunting the protesters. As the crowd rounded the corner shortly after that car drove by with the racial slurs and the white supremacist hand gestures, the crowd rounded the corner right into oncoming traffic on the underpass right there on Brown. As you can see, the cars were all stopped right there under the train underpass. The crowd continued to go north on Brown, which is a southbound one-way. The crowd then headed west down Main Street, which is an eastbound one-way. Then again rounded the corner, heading southbound onto a one-way into oncoming northbound traffic. I believe it's Stevens. This is a deliberate attempt to heighten awareness of the ongoing injustice and police brutality happening nationwide. So they were going into traffic. They were trying to raise awareness to people that were in the cars, so people understood exactly what they were saying, so people would be forced to sit and listen to what was going on.
George Floyd! George Floyd! George Floyd! George Floyd! George Floyd!
As a precautionary measure, you can see some of this footage here shows the Apple Store began boarding up. Later on, it proved to be an effective preventative measure since a couple hours later, the Nike store had actually been broken into and looted, just like a block down. There was actually footage and photos taken of people that were taking things from inside the Nike store, and I heard that a couple other businesses were vandalized and looted as well, but I don't have the details specifically on that. This group is seen moving into the bus plaza in downtown Spokane and then headed for the federal courthouse. One of the guys that you'll see in the video, he was actually took off running down the street, and the item that he dropped was a knife he had already unfolded. It was already unfolded for some reason or another, and when he took off running, I'm not sure where he was going or what he planned on doing, but I think when he dropped that knife, it kind of foiled his plan, because then he just kind of blended into the crowd. But it was really disturbing to see within a peaceful protest somebody brandishing a weapon that was pretty much ready to roll. It was also disturbing to see all the people that were harassing the protesters. We are already way outnumbered. Not only Native Americans, but people of color in the inland Northwest. Native Americans are less than 2% of the population. And so it makes it really difficult, really challenging. It's an uphill battle for us to kind of get things, to try to get things noticed. We're trying to get raise awareness to issues. We're always fighting this uphill battle.
You don't have to do this. It's a job. It's a fucking job. It's a job. You don't even make that much money. You don't understand. You guys are fucking poor.
Several hundred people gathered there, but not before someone was able to go through and spray paint on the front windows of the federal courthouse. Something definitely never seen before in Spokane. Something definitely never seen before in Spokane. All of these actions are unique, but it's unique to Spokane, but not unique to our country. The Downtown Spokane Public Library had also been tagged, as did the police cruiser that you see at the end of the video. Shortly after this footage was shot, police officers began firing tear gas and rubber bullets into the crowd in response to the damage done to the Nike store. Later into the evening, the mayor of Spokane, Nadine Woodward, she issued a curfew on downtown Spokane until 5 a.m. Sheriff, as I mentioned, Sheriff Ozzie Knezevich, he requested the assistance of the Army National Guard, even after receiving additional forces sent to assist from Kootenai County and also from the Tri-Cities area. Another thing to mention, coincidentally, is that members of the Proud Boys and the Antifa groups which are both considered radical white supremacists, were both seen in town along the route that the protesters had taken. So, which wasn't something that was really surprising for this area, specifically in the area that these Proud Boys and Antifa group members were spotted. So there have been quite a few actually racially motivated incidents in this area. So to see them out there in response to the protest is not surprising. It's really hard to watch. It's really hard to imagine where we would be if we had some type of response to bring the officers involved in the murder of George Floyd to justice. As of now, only one officer had been charged. There were 4 involved. One of them's arrested, and 3 still haven't seen any type of legal action taken towards them. Hopefully this isn't something that's going to go on. Hopefully we're going to see some movement in a positive direction. That was the whole idea. I wanted to be able to show some of the footage to the people in the area. I know out in the rural areas, you don't necessarily always get television reception. You don't not necessarily always get internet access, but I know that you can access YouTube when you head to town. So if you weren't able to catch the news, if you weren't able to get onto the website and see, I know a lot of the time that I was down there earlier, I didn't see any type of television coverage. So that was one of the big reasons I sat around the house for a couple hours figuring I'd see something on television. But with COVID going on, I was just trying to be a little conservative. I also realized that it's important for people to see what's actually happening and to see how impactful it is. And so I thought it was important to include the natives. I did see other natives that were out. I wasn't able to catch them all, but on social media, I saw multiple tribes represented down there. I saw Colvilles, I saw Yakimas. I think I saw a couple Kalispels. I definitely saw some Spokanes and Coeur d'Alenes and other tribes as well. But Native Americans, are always at the forefront when it comes to injustice. And it's important for us to realize that we need our non-Native allies. We need African American allies, our Hispanic population, even our European American allies. We need them just as much. Unfortunately, it takes events like this before we can bring to light the importance of issues of the injustice. But anyhow, this is an update. I've been working on more episodes. I got more episodes coming up. I've got some great footage from last year that I shot that I'm going to be putting out here within the next several weeks. I'm going to be cramming them out there, so be sure to stay tuned. Check them out. Thank you once again for checking this out. I appreciate you hanging in there. I know that it's been a while since I've been out, but I got a lot of plans in the works and trying to keep the quality up, and had to get a few things in line before we could start recording again, but it was just waiting too long. Today was a little over the top, and so I thought it was important to try to share as much of this as I could with you all. So thank you once again for joining us. If you like what you're seeing, be sure to like and subscribe. Check out the Facebook page. Check out the Twitter. We're always posting stuff on there. I know, especially during the COVID lockdown, there's tribes that have locked off and barricaded the entrances to their reservations. We've had outbreaks on different reservations. As of now, I think the head count on the Coeur d'Alene res, last I heard, was 17, and that's up from about a week and a half ago. There was only one. And then it's gradually gone up to about 17. They say they've got a good grip on it, on tracking where it came from and isolating the people that are involved with that. So hopefully other reservations in our area are staying locked down, practicing social distancing, wearing your masks, wearing your bandanas if you have a bandana. Something's better than nothing. Try to wear gloves when you can. Be sure to wash your hands. Be sure to keep your 6 feet away. I know that it's really hard to do that. And I know that all these businesses are wanting to reopen. We were facing a resurgence, they are saying, by June 10th or June 11th, even before the mass protests for George Floyd. So we really have to be careful now. So we're looking at a huge resurgence with all the people that have been involved with all these protests. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to see the repercussions from that. So hang on, stock up on everything that you need to. Call your friends and loved ones. You just have to remember, again, it's another great day to be Indigenous. And I want to thank you once again for joining us. Be sure to check out the upcoming episodes. I got at least half a dozen coming, trying to get 10 more out this season. So thank you once again for joining us, and be sure to tell your friends. Definitely next time we see you, it'll be under better circumstances. I got some better footage for you, stuff that's a little bit more lighthearted, and a bunch of different things that I was able to shoot last season that you're going to be seeing for the first time on this channel here. So be sure to check those out. Again, like and subscribe. Thank you once again.